Okay, Boston Omaha is a company that I get often requested here on the channel for me to cover. I'm just going to try to work out whether this is got some substance or it's more hype. Now, a little bit of a hint is that, well, now I've done the work on this, I actually think it might be more hype than it is substance. They do have great annual shareholder letters, which I think builds a bit of conviction for some people, but I still think, well, let me go through this little series and I think you can make your own decision by the end. And if you're new to investing, I use Interactive Brokers as the broker of choice for me personally. There's a link in the description below. That gives you access to lots of international markets, and I think they're the most reputable broker out there. It's very important to get a good broker. You don't want something that, like what happened with FTX in the crypto space, to happen with your stock market investing. Is something like that could happen if you don't have a reputable broker. I really don't like Robinhood and those like new age apps. Interactive Brokers has decades of experience, so that makes me feel a lot more comfortable. Now let me jump into Boston Omaha and talk about what the company does. Essentially, it's a holding company. It's a similar idea to like Nelnet and Fairfax and Berkshire Hathaway. Not exactly a serial acquirer, which I'm very fond of serial acquirers here on the channel, but I guess you get the idea. It's a conglomerate essentially. So like all conglomerates, well, all businesses in general, it's going to come down to management, strategy, discipline, and the track record, and that's going to be the big factors here. I hate that people are saying it's like a mini Berkshire Hathaway. Nothing is a mini Berkshire Hathaway. They can try, but hundreds of conglomerate attempts out there, but no one's Berkshire Hathaway just because they won't have the track record. So I cringe as I get older when people say this, but anyway, people do say this is a younger Berkshire Hathaway kind of model. Now, the main areas that Boston Omaha operate in are billboards, broadband, and insurance, and these are all very decentralized operations. So they have another investment section as well, but these are the main cash producing areas. They've got it's about a 700 million, depending on when you're looking at this video. At the moment, it's about a 700 million enterprise value, and the co-CEOs are Adam Peterson and Alex Rozek, and they've been in control since 2015. So I guess there's a little bit of a track record there, not super long. It's 8 years at the helm is some substance there, but still only 8 years compared to Berkshire Hathaway's 60 or whatever. And again, I can't stress this point enough. It's going to be about capital allocation from these co-CEOs and their decision making. So that's going to be the focus of these videos. So regarding the billboard operations, they actually have about 4,000 billboards spread across America. And just like this picture suggests, it's the billboards that are on the side of the road as you're driving on the highway, things like that. A lot of them are not digitized. They're all it's quite an interesting business model, because they have a fixed structure, which is that frame and the poster and the sign essentially, and it takes a bit of capital to buy that, but you don't really have to. It sits there for years and years and years. It doesn't really depreciate in value very much. So it's an interesting business asset. Then we look at the insurance operations, and at the moment it's a bit out of my depth. So something I want to get my head around if I was to dig into this further. They focus on something called surety insurance, which is essentially insuring a lot between like construction companies and their clients. It's kind of messy. I don't really understand the insurance risks here, but something that you'd have to get your head around. And then the third area of their cash flow is their fiber/broadband area. This is pretty interesting, as I'm aware of this opportunity by studying Nelnet, and it's pretty much the same opportunity. It's very competitive to win a contract, but once you're in a particular town and you've won that contract to lay the cable, the fiber optics, you have a kind of a geographical monopoly in that particular area, which is really interesting. I think it's a very fascinating little space, and unfortunately, there's a lot of competition bidding for those contracts though. Next, I want to go through some of the highlights of an annual letter that I was reading, and I just think this summarizes the business quite clearly for us. They write, "Since our first letter to shareholders in 2015, we have kept the same stated goal. Boston Omaha's focus objective is growing intrinsic value per share at an attractive rate while seeking to maintain an uncompromising financial position." Sounds good. In that same letter, we go on to say, "We do not have a predetermined plan or a rigid acquisition strategy to accomplish our stated goal. We will purchase suitable businesses as they are identified. Over time, and opportunity set willing, we hope to have interest in a handful of businesses that produce sustainable earnings streams. Diversification is a potential result from a series of what we hope will be successful decisions over a long period of time, rather than a strategy at the outset." So I think this is really interesting how they essentially state that they don't have a clear plan. They're just going to be opportunistic, and you have to trust management here. And I think that's very interesting. I think it's good if you think these guys are really smart and know what they're doing and they develop a track record. Big problem if you don't, of course. Now here in this table, we can see how assets have changed over time. So the billboards have really grown significantly from about 10 million in 2015 to now $165 million worth. Insurance has been flat for the last few years essentially, but still doubled over since 2016. Broadband is quite a new segment. The cash balance has grown quite substantially as well. So the assets are looking quite strong. Now, obviously with assets, we have to talk about the liability side, and they say this. On the liability side, we continue to employ no debt at the parent company or any subsidiary other than a very manageable amount at our billboard business, which is non-recourse to Boston Omaha, the parent. Shareholders can rest assured that to any degree our appetite for debt increases, it will be done with the same conservatism you would expect from two guys who have a material amount of their net worth in the company and refuse to increase risk in exchange for a little extra return. So here's a little summary of their framework for their business, essentially. They want to get their incentives right. They want to be decentralized. They want to have long-term thinking. They want to focus on cash. And they call it partnership. They want to be the partner you want to partner with. Now, they are definitely saying all the right things. The question is this for real? So I think the way to build up some conviction in this is to just read the letters from 2015 and follow along the company on their journey and what they've been saying along the way. And I guess from there, we have to have a look at things like their growth, their track record, their shares outstanding, things like that. And that's what we're going to do in the next episode. So stay tuned for that. I hope you're enjoying this little look at Boston Omaha, and I will see you in the next video.